Some people say blood is thicker than water. That family always comes first. That your parents will always have your back no matter what. I used to believe that too, until my own mother proved me wrong. My name is Emma, and I'm 25 years old. This is the story of how my mom took away the one thing my father left me, gave it to my stepbrother, and then told me I should be thankful about it. Let me take you back to where this all started. Back to when I was 17 and my whole world fell apart. My dad was my hero. I know everyone says that about their parents, but my dad really was special. He was a carpenter by trade, one of the best in our town. He could build anything with his hands. Tables, cabinets, entire houses from the ground up. When I was 5, he started building our house. Not hiring someone to do it, actually building it himself. Every wall, every window, every floorboard was placed by his hands. It took him 3 years to finish. I remember watching him work on weekends, his tool belt hanging low on his hips, sweat on his forehead but always smiling, always humming some old country song while he worked. He'd let me hand him nails. I felt so important, like I was really helping. He'd ruffle my hair and tell me I was the best assistant a carpenter could ask for. When the house was finally done, he picked me up and carried me over the threshold. "This is our castle," he said. "You, me, and your mom. Nothing can touch us here." I felt so safe in that house, so loved. The house wasn't huge or fancy. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a nice kitchen, and a living room with a fireplace Dad built from river stones he collected himself. But every inch of it was made with care and love. Dad worked hard his whole life. He never made a ton of money, but we always had enough. He made sure I had what I needed for school. He took us on small vacations to the lake every summer. He saved what he could. My childhood was happy, really happy. Mom and Dad loved each other. They'd dance in the kitchen while making dinner. They'd hold hands on the couch while watching TV. But when I was 16, everything changed. Dad got sick. Cancer. The kind that spreads fast and doesn't give you much time to say goodbye. He fought it for about a year. I watched this strong, capable man who could build entire houses get weaker and weaker. His hands that used to be so steady started shaking. His body that was always solid and strong became thin and fragile. It was the hardest thing I've ever seen. Near the end, when he knew he wasn't going to make it, he called me into his hospital room. Just the 2 of us. My mom had gone to get coffee. The room smelled like antiseptic and sadness. Machines beeped quietly in the background. He took my hand. His grip was so weak compared to what it used to be. "Emma," he said, his voice scratchy and tired. "I need to tell you something important." I nodded, trying not to cry. "The house," he continued. "The one I built for us. That's going to be yours someday. It's the only thing of real value I have to leave you. It's your security. No matter what happens in life, you'll always have a home. You understand?" "Dad, don't talk like that," I said, the tears coming anyway, but he shook his head slowly. "We both know that's not true, kiddo. The house is yours. Your mother knows this. I've told her many times. I wrote it down too. It's in the safe at home. My wishes are clear. Promise me you'll remember what I said. That house is yours. I built it thinking about your future, about you having something solid, something no one can take away." "I promise, Dad," I whispered. He smiled weakly. "You're going to do great things, Emma. And whenever you need me, you go sit by that fireplace, and you'll feel me there." He died 3 days later. I was 17 years old, and I felt like half of me died with him. The funeral was a blur. Lots of people telling me how sorry they were, how my dad was a good man. I just wanted everyone to go away. For the first year after Dad died, it was just me and Mom. The house felt too big and too quiet without him. Every room had memories. His workshop in the garage still smelled like sawdust. His favorite chair in the living room sat empty because neither of us could bring ourselves to sit in it. Mom grieved in her own way. She cried a lot at first. I'd hear her sobbing in her bedroom at night. Then she sort of shut down emotionally. She went to work, came home, made dinner, and went to bed. We barely talked. I was dealing with my own grief and trying to finish high school. It was the hardest year of my life. My grades dropped, I stopped hanging out with friends. I just went through the motions. The only thing that kept me going was remembering what Dad said, that I'd always have a home. Then, about 18 months after Dad died, Mom started going out more. She seemed happier. She'd joined a book club, started wearing makeup again. She began smiling and laughing, which I hadn't seen her do in so long. I was glad, honestly. I didn't want her to be sad forever. Then she told me she'd met someone. His name was Mark. He owned a construction supply business in the next town over. He was nice, she said. He made her laugh. He was helping her feel alive again. I was cautious but tried to be supportive. I wanted my mom to be happy, even though part of me felt like she was moving on too fast. Dad had only been gone a year and a half, but I didn't say that to her face. I just smiled and told her I was happy for her. She started bringing Mark around the house. He was friendly enough. Tall guy with graying hair and a big smile. He'd ask me about school and try to make conversation, but it felt forced to me, like he was trying too hard. Mark had a son named Ryan who was exactly my age. We'd actually gone to the same high school but ran in different circles. Ryan was the popular kid, captain of the baseball team, always. I had a girlfriend. Drove a nice car his dad bought him for his 16th birthday. I was more of the quiet, artistic type. I had a small group of friends and liked it that way. Ryan and I were polite to each other when our parents started dating, but we were never close. Ryan had this way of bragging about everything. His car, his baseball stats, his dad's business, how much money they had. It annoyed me, but I tried to ignore it. Within 6 months of meeting Mark, my mom announced they were getting engaged. 6 months. My dad had been dead for 2 years, and she was already getting remarried. I was hurt. It felt too soon. Like she was trying to replace Dad. But I didn't say that to her face. I just smiled weakly and said congratulations because I didn't want to ruin her happiness. They got married in a small ceremony when I was 19. I was away at community college by then, living in a dorm, so I only came home for the wedding and holidays. I'd moved out as soon as I could after graduating high school. Not because I was mad at Mom, but because being in that house without Dad hurt too much. After the wedding, things changed fast. Mark moved into the house, Dad's house. He brought his furniture, his decorations, his whole life with him. Suddenly, there were sports trophies on the mantle instead of family photos. There was a big TV where Dad's bookshelf used to be. Ryan started staying there on weekends when he was home from college. He'd taken over the guest room, filled it with his stuff. Mom seemed happy though. She smiled more. She'd cook big dinners and invite Mark's friends over. It was like she'd built a whole new life, and I was just a visiting guest in it. Dad's workshop in the garage was the hardest change. Mom and Mark cleaned it out one weekend while I was at school. They turned it into a home gym. All of Dad's tools were sold or donated. His workbench was gone. When I came home for Thanksgiving and saw what they'd done, I cried in my car for an hour. But I didn't say anything to Mom. The house was hers legally. She could do what she wanted with it. Besides, I kept telling myself it didn't matter. Because eventually, the house would be mine. Dad had promised. He'd written it down. I just had to wait. I focused on school. I was studying graphic design, something I'd always loved. I worked part-time at a coffee shop near campus to pay for books and supplies. Money was tight, but I was managing. I came home less and less, maybe once every few months. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like Mark's house. When I did visit, Mark was always friendly but fake. Ryan was rarely there, which was fine by me. When he was, he'd mostly ignore me or talk about himself. Mom would try to include me in conversations, but it felt forced, like we were strangers being polite rather than mother and daughter. I missed the way we used to be. Before Dad died, when we'd bake cookies together on Sundays. That Mom was gone, but I never worried about the house itself. I knew it was waiting for me, my security, just like Dad promised. Then came last year. I was 25, finally finished with school, and working at a small design firm in the city about 2 hours away. I didn't make much money, but I loved my job. I was designing logos and websites for small businesses. I had a tiny studio apartment that was barely bigger than a closet, but it was mine. I was building my own life. I decided to visit home for a weekend. It had been almost 4 months since I'd been back. Mom had been texting, saying she missed me, asking me to come visit. I felt guilty for staying away so long, so I packed a bag and made the drive. When I walked in the front door, something felt wrong immediately. More furniture I didn't recognize. New paint colors in the hallway. Photos of Mark's extended family on the walls where our old family photos used to be. Mom was in the kitchen making lunch. She hugged me when she saw me, holding on a little too long. "I'm so glad you're here," she said. "It's been too long." After we ate, I went upstairs to put my bag in my old bedroom. The door was open, which was weird. I stepped inside and froze. The room was completely empty. My old bed was gone. My desk where I used to draw was gone. The bookshelf Dad had built for me was gone. Even my posters were off the walls. The walls were painted a different color. Beige instead of the light blue I'd chosen when I was 14. There was nothing left of me in this room. I found Mom back in the kitchen, washing dishes. "Mom, what happened to my room?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up from the sink. "Oh, we're renovating. Ryan's going to be moving in next month, so we're fixing it up for him." My stomach dropped. "Moving in? Why?" "He and his girlfriend broke up, and he needs a place to stay for a while. Plus, he's starting a new position at Mark's company, so it makes sense for him to live closer. But that's my room," I said. She laughed a little, like I'd said something silly. "Emma, you haven't lived here in years. You have your own apartment in the city. Ryan needs it more than you do right now. Besides, we still have the guest room if you want to visit." The guest room? The room that was already Ryan's on weekends. I felt hurt but didn't push it. "Where's my stuff?" "Oh, it's all in boxes in the garage. You can go through them and take whatever you want." My entire childhood, packed away in boxes. Out of sight, out of the way. That night after dinner, Mom asked me to stay in the living room. She said she and Mark needed to talk to me about something. My stomach immediately tensed. Nothing good ever came from conversations that started that way. We all sat down, Mom and Mark on the couch. Me in the chair across from them. Ryan wasn't there, which I found odd. "Emma?" Mom started, looking uncomfortable. "Mark and I have been thinking a lot about the house, about our future, about making sure everyone is taken care of fairly." "Okay," I said slowly, my heart starting to race. Mark jumped in. "We've decided to sell the house to Ryan. He's at a stage in life where he's ready to settle down, start building equity, all that responsible adult stuff. And since your mother and I are getting older, we're thinking about downsizing to a condo anyway. Something easier to maintain." I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. The walls were closing in. I couldn't breathe properly. "Sell the house?" I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "This house?" "Yes," Mom said. "But don't worry, it'll stay in the family. Ryan loves this place. He'll take good care of it. It's not like we're selling to strangers." "Stay in the family." But I was family. I was her daughter. "But Dad left this house to me," I said, my voice shaking. "He told me. Before he died, he told me this house would be mine. He wrote it down. It's in the safe." Mom sighed, like I was being difficult. "Emma, honey, that note your dad left wasn't legally binding. It wasn't notarized or properly witnessed by a lawyer. Legally, the house is mine to do with as I see fit. Your father and I owned it jointly, and when he passed, it became solely mine." "But he wanted me to have it," I said, tears starting to form in my eyes. "He built this house with his own hands. For us. He told me it would always be mine. That I'd always have a home." "Your father said a lot of things," Mom said, and there was an edge to her voice now. "But life changes. Circumstances change. We have to be practical." "Practical?" I repeated. Mark leaned forward. "Look, Emma, I know this is hard to hear, but let's be realistic. Ryan is in a position to actually care for this property. He has a stable job at my company. He's responsible, he's mature, he can afford the mortgage, the upkeep, the property taxes, all of it. And I can't?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. "Be honest with yourself," Mark said, his voice patronizing. "You're barely making ends meet at that design job. You live in a studio apartment. You have student loans. You can't afford a house like this. Ryan can. It makes sense." His words stung because they were partly true. I wasn't rich. I didn't make a lot of money. But that didn't mean I wouldn't be able to afford it someday. That didn't mean it wasn't supposed to be mine. "This isn't about money," I said, my voice breaking. "This is about my father's wishes. This is about a promise he made to me." "Emma, you're being emotional," Mom said. "I understand you're upset, but you need to think about this rationally." "How can you do this?" I asked, looking directly at my mother. "How can you take away the one thing Dad left me? The house he built with his own hands?" "I'm not taking anything away from you," Mom said defensively. "You never legally had it to begin with. And I have to think about everyone in this family now, not just you. Ryan is my stepson. I have responsibilities to him too. So his needs matter more than mine?" I asked. "It's not about whose needs matter more," Mom said, getting frustrated. "It's about making the best decision for everyone. Ryan is ready for this responsibility. You're not. End of story." "You already decided," I said, realization dawning. "You didn't call me here to discuss this. You called me here to tell me. The decision's already made. The paperwork is already in motion," Mark confirmed. "Ryan's moving in next month. We'll transfer the deed to him shortly after that. We wanted to let you know in person rather than over the phone. Respectful." They thought blindsiding me with this was respectful. I stood up. I couldn't sit there anymore. I felt like I was going to be sick. "This isn't fair," I said, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. "Dad built this house. He wanted me to have it. You know that. You were there when he said it." "Life isn't always fair, Emma," Mom said, standing up too. "And you need to stop living in the past. Your father is gone. I've moved on. I have a new family now. You need to accept that." A new family. That's what Ryan was to her. Family. And apparently, he was more important than me. "I can't believe you're doing this," I whispered. "Oh, Emma, stop being so dramatic," Mom said, her patience wearing thin. "You'll understand when you're older. Sometimes you have to make practical decisions." "What about what Dad wanted?" I asked. "Your father isn't here anymore," she said coldly. "I am, and I'm making the decisions now." Those words cut deeper than anything else. Like Dad didn't matter anymore, like his wishes were irrelevant because he was dead. I looked at my mother, this woman who used to sing me lullabies, and I didn't recognize her at all. "You should be grateful," Mom said, her voice softening slightly. "At least the house is going to someone who loves this family, someone who'll take care of it properly. Ryan will preserve it. Isn't that what matters?" Grateful. She wanted me to be grateful that my stepbrother was getting my inheritance. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I'd start screaming, or crying, or both. I turned and walked out of the living room. I went straight to the guest room and started throwing my things back into my bag. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip it closed. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Mom appeared in the doorway. "Emma, where are you going? You just got here." "I can't stay here," I said, not looking at her. "Don't be like this. Stay the night. We'll talk more in the morning when everyone's calmer." "There's nothing more to talk about," I said. "You made your decision. I'm making mine." "And what decision is that?" she asked. I finally looked at her. Really looked at her. "I'm leaving, and I don't think I'm coming back." "Don't say that," she said, and for the first time, she looked worried. "You're upset. I understand. But you'll feel differently tomorrow." "No, I won't," I said. "You chose Mark and Ryan over me, over Dad's memory, over everything we were as a family. I'll never feel differently about that." "I didn't choose anyone over anyone," Mom said. "You're twisting this into something it's not. You took away my inheritance and gave it to your stepson, a guy you've known for 5 years. What else would you call that?" "I call it being a responsible adult," she said, her voice hard. "You should try it sometime instead of clinging to childish promises." "Childish?" My father's deathbed promise to me was childish. I picked up my bag and pushed past her. I practically ran down the stairs. Mark was still in the living room. He looked up as I passed. "Emma, come on. Don't leave like this," he called after me. I didn't respond. I went straight out the front door to my car. As I was putting my bag in the trunk, I heard the front door open. Mom was standing on the porch. "Emma, please, don't go. Let's talk about this like adults." I slammed the trunk closed and got in the driver's seat. She walked toward the car. "You're being ridiculous. You're throwing away our relationship over a house. Is that really what you want?" I rolled down the window just enough to speak. "I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that when you broke Dad's promise, when you chose them over me." "That's not what happened," she said, and now she was crying. "I love you. You're my daughter. But Dad should still matter," I said. "His wishes should still matter. I should still matter." "You do matter," she insisted. But her actions said otherwise. I started the car. "Don't do this," Mom said. "Please. I'm still your mother. We can work through this." I looked at her one last time. Tears were running down her face, but not upset enough to change her mind, not upset enough to honor my father's wishes. "Goodbye, Mom," I said. Then I drove away. I watched her in the rearview mirror, standing in the driveway, getting smaller until I turned the corner and couldn't see her anymore. I made it about 10 minutes before I had to pull over because I was crying so hard I couldn't see the road. I sat in a gas station parking lot and sobbed. Deep, ugly, painful sobs. I cried for my dad, for the house he built, for the promise he made, for my mom, for the relationship we used to have, for myself, for feeling unwanted. When I finally stopped crying, I was exhausted. I found a cheap motel and checked in for the night. The next few months were some of the hardest of my life. I threw myself into work, trying not to think about what happened. But it was always there, sitting in the back of my mind. Mom called me several times over the next few weeks. I didn't answer. She left voicemails. "Emma, please call me back. We need to talk about this." I don't understand why you're being so stubborn. It's just a house. You're being unfair. I'm trying to do what's best for everyone. I miss you, honey. Please come home so we can work this out. Each message made me angrier. She still didn't get it. After a while, I blocked her number. I couldn't handle hearing her voice anymore. I focused on work and tried to build my life. I saw a therapist who helped me work through the grief and anger. Then, about 6 months after that awful weekend, I got a text from an old high school friend who still lived in my hometown. Hey, I don't know if you heard, but your family's house is for sale. Thought you'd want to know. My heart stopped. I texted back immediately. What do you mean for sale? There's a for sale sign in the yard. Has been for a couple weeks now. Ryan was selling the house. Already. I got in my car and drove the 2 hours to my hometown that same day. I had to see it with my own eyes. Sure enough, when I pulled up to the house, there was a big for sale sign planted in the front yard. I parked across the street and just stared at it. The house my dad built, the house he'd promised me, and now Ryan was selling it. All that talk about family, about him taking care of it, about him loving the place, it was all lies. When I got home, I looked up the listing online. Ryan was asking for nearly double what he'd paid Mom for it. He'd owned the house for 6 months. 6 months. And he was already flipping it for a huge profit. I felt sick. This was what my mom thought was a better choice than giving the house to me. A few weeks later, I heard through the same friend that the house had sold. It went for close to asking price. Ryan made over $100,000 in profit. My dad's house, the one he built with his own hands, Ryan had turned it into a business deal. That same week, my phone rang from an unknown number. Without thinking, I answered it. Emma? It was my mom's voice. Oh, honey, I've missed you so much, she said. I've been trying to reach you for months. Why haven't you been answering my calls? What do you want, Mom? I asked, my voice flat. I just wanted to check in. See how you're doing. Maybe we could meet for lunch? I really miss you. Did you know Ryan sold the house? I asked. There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable pause. Yes, she finally said. He mentioned that. He owned it for 6 months, I said. 6 months, Mom. And he sold it for double what you sold it to him for. He made over $100,000. Well, that's good for him, she said. But she sounded uncertain. Real estate is a good investment. Investment? I repeated, my voice rising. That was Dad's house. The house he built. The house he wanted me to have. And Ryan treated it like a business investment. Emma, I don't know what you want me to say, Mom said, getting defensive. I want you to admit you were wrong, I said, my voice breaking. I want you to admit that you chose your new family over your own daughter. That you betrayed Dad's wishes so your stepson could make money. That's not fair, Mom said. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? You took away my inheritance and gave it to someone who sold it for profit 6 months later. I made a mistake, she admitted quietly. I thought Ryan would keep it. I thought it would stay in the family. How was I supposed to know he'd sell it? Maybe if you'd given it to me like Dad wanted, it would have actually stayed in the family, I said. I'm sorry, she said, crying harder now. I'm so sorry. Can't we try to fix this? You're my daughter. I can't lose you. But she'd already lost me. The moment she chose that house over honoring my father's memory, she lost me. You told me I should be grateful, I said, my voice shaking. You took away the one thing my father left me, gave it to someone who sold it for profit, and you told me I should be grateful. How am I supposed to move past that? I was wrong to say that, Mom admitted. I was frustrated. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Yes, you did, I said. You meant every word. You thought I was being unreasonable. Emma, please, she begged. I'm sorry. Let's talk. Really talk. I'll listen this time. There's nothing left to say, I said quietly. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. What does that mean? She asked, fear in her voice. It means I can't have you in my life right now. Maybe not ever. I can't look at you and not think about what you did. So I'm choosing to walk away. Emma, no, please, I'm your mother. Then you should have acted like it, I said. And I hung up. I blocked that number too, and every other way she might try to contact me. That was 8 months ago. I haven't spoken to my mom since. I heard through friends that she and Mark bought a condo like they'd planned. That Ryan moved in with a new girlfriend in a different part of town. That Mom tells people she doesn't understand why I won't talk to her. Part of me feels guilty for cutting her off so completely. But then I remember that conversation, her telling me I should be grateful, her dismissing Dad's wishes like they didn't matter. I'm doing better now. I got a promotion at work 3 months ago. I'm saving money. I moved into a bigger apartment, a one-bedroom in a nice neighborhood. I'm building my own life, my own security. It won't be the house Dad built, but it'll be mine. I still have that note he wrote, the one that wasn't legally binding. It says, "To my daughter Emma, this house, built with my hands and my love, is yours. Always. No matter what happens, you have a home. Love, Dad." I keep it in a frame on my dresser now. I look at it every morning. It's not a house, but it's proof that my dad loved me, that he thought about my future. My mom took the physical house away, but she can't take away what it represented. She can't erase my dad's love or his intentions, and she can't make me believe that what she did was okay. I know the truth. Dad wanted me to have that house, and Mom gave it away to make her new husband happy. She sacrificed me for them. Simple as that. Some betrayals are too big to forgive. Some wounds are too deep. My therapist says I'm grieving two losses, my father and the mother I thought I had. Maybe someday I'll be ready to reach out, to have a conversation, but that day isn't today, and I'm learning to be okay with that. Dad would want me to be okay. He wouldn't want me to sacrifice my peace to make Mom feel better. I'm building my own security now, the kind that can't be sold or taken away. That's what I'm focusing on. Building a life that's stable and mine. I'm doing it alone, without the head start Dad tried to give me, but I'm doing it, one day at a time. And maybe that's what Dad's real gift was. Not the house itself, but the strength to survive when things don't go as planned. The house is gone. The relationship with my mom is broken. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still building. And that's enough. Because sometimes, love doesn't excuse betrayal. Sometimes, being family doesn't give you permission to hurt someone and expect them to just get over it. My mom made her choice, now she gets to live with it. And I get to live with mine. I chose myself. I chose my dad's memory. I chose to walk away from people who don't value me. Even though it hurts, even though it's lonely sometimes, I think that was the right choice. Because I deserve better than being someone's second choice. My dad knew that. He tried to make sure I'd always be taken care of. My mom forgot. Or maybe she never really understood. Either way, I'm done hoping she'll see it. I'm done waiting for an apology that will never come. I'm moving forward, building my own foundation, creating my own security, and one day I'll buy my own house. A place that's truly mine, where I can make my own memories, where I can feel safe again. It won't replace what I lost, but it'll be something I built myself, just like Dad would have wanted.